What is up? Really excited to get through this class, this lesson of understanding what house hacking is all about. This will be a pretty comprehensive course slash just like class in showing you the ropes of why real estate investing, why house hacking is awesome, how to actually manage the property, how to find the deals, how to analyze the deals, all that good stuff. Just really excited to just put all of my experience and my clients' experience because I'm a real estate investor, agent, and house hacker in the Denver area. So not only am I gathering from my experiences here in the Denver area, but I'm also collectively getting it from other people, and they're showing me what works for them. The struggles, the experiences they're going through, and we're all just sourcing all of that, and I'm spewing it all here for you to take advantage of. So really excited to get through this with you guys. So house hacking school is in session. Welcome to school. If you're not already part of school, what it is this community based, almost like a Facebook group, but on steroids. I love it. I feel like I'm growing more and more, just more followers every day. So really excited to just bring all that to you. So what we are going to be going over for the first chapter here. Whoa, I am very small. Let's make myself a little bit bigger here. H. So it's going to be an acronym, right? HACKING. Sitting in a tree. So H is first. House hacking fundamentals. That's what it stands for. First chapter we're going to be going over is why listen to me. What is house hacking? Real estate versus other asset classes. And, we're going to be going over all the other asset classes. Section 3 of the first chapter, real estate versus, that's real estate versus other assets. Number 4, why even house hack versus any other investing opportunity within real estate, the pros and cons of house hacking. Number 5, and then renting versus owning, the short-term pain versus long-term gain, and the case studies that I have experienced for getting you on board, and what I have seen with people being successful and maybe even not so successful in the house hacking, strategy. So welcome. So first of all, a little bit about me. This is your first step to long-term wealth. I can't think of a better way to start real estate investing and get yourself fired, which is financial independence and retire early, FIRE. And with real estate investing, and I'm seeing this come into fruition every day, every year that I continually invest in real estate, and I want you to be part of that journey, and I'm sure that's why you're here as well. So congrats on making the first move to building generational wealth. Educating yourself is important, but implementation is the power. So, knowledge is power, but I disagree. I think implementation is the power behind it. So here I am, realtor, investor, and here's me chowing down in a local bakery. If you're ever in Denver, make sure you go check out Get Right's Bakery, because I absolutely love the people and love the pastries over there. I am a carbaholic, if you will. First things first, why do we even want to house hack? There's a couple of reasons why here, right? Number one reason why we want to house hack, and I have my notes right here as well, so I don't forget anything as I help you guys out. Financial independence, super important. And the big thing here is that time is money. Time is money, where the money comes from you dedicating time. And a lot of you are experiencing this, and I experienced this when I was a W-2 employee, where every hour that I work is a certain amount of money that I earn. So if I work an hour, then I get a certain amount of money. So time is money, right? Unfortunately, we have to make money. So we have to dedicate time to making that money. That's where it comes from. Of course, this being a more capitalistic society, that's what it looks like. Needing to work is necessary, and you're dedicating time to a paycheck. Capitalistic society. I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, that's where it is. I want that to work positively for you, not negatively. And a lot of that comes in the form of real estate investing. So let's say for $100 dinner, right? At $50 an hour, let's say you get paid $50 an hour, right? You have $100 dinner, which is not uncommon, to be honest. Let's say if you have a couple drinks, maybe if it's 4 people, whatever it might be, right? Or if it's a more expensive dinner, you're celebrating something. That dinner costs you 2 hours if you're getting paid $50 per hour. So 2 hours of your time is dedicated to that dinner, which, it's up to you if it's worth it or not, right? So just keeping that in mind, right? Money earned from investing does not require your time. So, with the W 2 job, right, you're dedicating time to get more money. With investing, you are using that money that you have accumulated from working and put it into an asset class where it's working on its own. You no longer have to work for that money that you're accumulating with investing. So, that's the best part with investing. That's why it's so important. Does not require your time. So if your investments pay you an amount more than your living expenses, like your bills, your mortgage, then you don't have to work because your investments are paying for your lifestyle, right? Your time is now back in your hands because that investment is making you money. So this will teach you how to invest in real estate. With investing, and the reason why I love real estate so much, I mean, we'll be going over all the details behind it on why real estate versus any other asset class, but this course will teach you why real estate investing is so important, right? Okay, so moving forward, growing wealth. That's the second reason why we should be house hacking in general or investing. I guess investing in general, right? So, going over this, right? The net worth of a renter average in the whole United States is $10,400. The average net worth of a homeowner is $395,000. Now, I know a lot of homeowners that are not doing well financially, right? But the fact that there's so much money accumulated within their own home. And for this example, that's average $395,000. That means there's people that have more than that, and there's people that have less than that, right? Which is what, 400 times or 40x the net worth of a renter? Huge difference between the two, right? So I want you to have that average net worth of a homeowner if you don't already own a home in this case, before going into the school games here, the school community. So, home appreciation over time. So, over time, I'm sure we have these certain scenarios where we have grandparents or parents or aunts and uncles that have bought what in the 80s or 90s and have just let their home appreciate over time. And that home appreciation means that it's more money within your own home. And you can see that money when you refinance, when you pull a HELOC, or when you sell the home. And we'll be going over the details of how to exit from that home. But nonetheless, that is the game here. You can get so much money just from holding onto your property and living in your home, and it just moves up over time, and it does not require your time, which is the best part. That's investing, right? So let me see here. And people need shelter. Why is it that people, or sorry, like houses cost so much, right? It is always in demand. People will always want land. It's a finite resource. You want to be within the city, you want to be next to a park, or maybe you want to be closer to public transportation, whatever that might be. If the market demands it, it will cost you a higher price because more buyers, more demand means that you can charge a premium for this stuff. Let's say for right now in the market that we're in right now, 2024, a lot of insurance agencies are leaving certain states, let's say like Florida, because it is in such demand that it is like the premiums are just way too high and people are not willing to pay that much. So, anywho, that's a little bit more macroeconomics here, but people need shelter. It's one of the three basic things of what people need to live: food, water, and shelter. Institutions are also buying more homes. So, with institutions buying more homes, you are experiencing just or like just a lot of people, what do you call it, like a limited supply of inventory here on the market. And with institutions, with all they're all cash offers, they don't have to worry about interest rates and how the mortgage will affect their inventory, or sorry, their portfolio. They could just keep buying these properties. But of course, like as of right now, there are bills in the works where they're trying to prevent institutions from buying these single family homes, which I hope passes because we need more inventory for the people, right? So anywho, What's also great about it is that you can live in the asset. Like you're not only investing in real estate, but you live in the asset and you can take advantage of that. You can't do that with stocks. You can't do that with crypto. You can't do that with a lot of these other asset classes where you're physically touching this asset class of real estate. And I think that's so powerful for someone who wants to, like gain that wealth and have it tangible, right? So that's another great part of it too. Mortgage versus rent. When you buy a home, you have an agreement with the lender where they give you a certain percentage of that home. Let's say you have a $500,000 home. I'll be going over all these numbers at a future chapter, but just to give you an idea of what it looks like, the lender will give you a certain amount and you have to pay that money back. With rent, you are at the mercy of what rent increases are like. If you live in the property for, for like a year, usually it increases by 3% every year. And after 5 years or 10 years, that rent increase is very significant. But with a mortgage, it stays the same with very little increases. Like with taxes and insurance, those are the only things that would increase, but it's maybe like tens of dollars per month or whatever that might be. And that's per year, right? If it's a 3% for rent increase, that is a significantly more monthly payment versus a mortgage, which mostly stays the same, especially annually. So now I'm not sure why I went to tea first, but we got to get back our time, right? Oh my gosh. Okay. So I guess we're going to be going over all of T here. So family emergency. So get back your time when you start investing, right? When I mentioned that time equals money because, we have to work for it. We have to provide some sort of value and that value is worth a certain price. And that's how much we get paid as a W-2 employee or whatever that might be. Even if you're an entrepreneur, you have to provide a value to the marketplace and they will reward you for it for that cost, right? With a cost. So let's say you have a family emergency. Let's say your mother, God forbid, right, is on her deathbed. She has 3 months to live. You only have 2 weeks of vacation and you haven't used it yet, which is, I guess, great because now you can dedicate those 2 weeks to being with your mom, right? If you invest, if you do not rely on a W-2 job to be a part of or just like accumulate wealth, right? You can dedicate more than 2 weeks to being with your mom. You could dedicate more time to your mom or to your loved ones who are in an emergency, or even give money to the people that are most dear to your heart because the money that you've invested is now paying for that lifestyle and then some. So let's say you wanted to take 3 months off. I mean, you could say screw you to your employer and just quit or take a sabbatical so that you can have your investments pay for that time that you have off. So that is very key to that stuff. So which leads onto the algebra of happiness. And you got to look this up on YouTube. Scott Galloway, he's a professor at NYU. He has an excellent YouTube video. Send me a DM if you're ever curious about it. You can search Scott Galloway, the algebra of happiness. He does a really great video on this family emergency, having or giving your mom or your loved ones a gracious exit, thanks to your investments and thanks to the capital that you've gained over time. So definitely go check out that video because that's where I got a lot of the inspiration for that family emergency part. In my opinion, I think that's the most important, right? So with time, investing, homeownership, and owning a business all in one. Sometimes with these with trying to do so many things at once with like investing, real estate provides a way for you to own a business, you own a home, and you invest all at the same time. Because when you own a real estate property, you have to manage people coming in, you have to manage cleaners, you have to manage contractors, and that is all part of a business. So all three in one is so great for tax purposes. And I am not a CPA, but that is what I've experienced myself. But it is a combination of all three. And instead of like divvying up and finding three different places to put your money to invest, real estate is all three. So I think that's great. Supply and demand, institutions buying more homes, take charge of your life. I feel like that's a copy paste from last time, but take charge of your life, right? You do not want to be reliant on social security. Don't want to be reliant on any sort of like a person, let's say aunts, uncles, or parents. You want to be self sufficient. Who knows what the world is going to be like 10, 20, 40 years from now, where let's say right now I'm 35 and I want to retire by 40 because I want to live life and not have to rely on income like when I'm like able bodied, when I have a physical body to actually go out and explore and travel and things like that. The people that retire at 65, sure, they get social security and they can finally pull out of the 401k, but they're 65. Like a good chunk of their life has already passed by them and they are not able to really enjoy it because now they have to use the elevator instead of stairs. They have to walk a lot and I don't think they'll want to be on like the what do you call it? The walkers or like in a moped wherever they go, right? I want to live that life when I have legs and working knees. So take charge of your life here. Now we go into the L here. Save on living expenses. Huge, right? It is the most costly monthly expense. The mortgages, rent, usually it's about 30-ish% of your paycheck. And if 30% of your paycheck goes to your living expenses, house hacking diminishes that as much as possible. So when you have other renters, when you have people living with you, it is so key to saving more money, putting more money in your pocket, and that money that you save, you can further invest, whether it's the stock market or more real estate or even crypto, whatever you decide to do. If you were to ask me, I would save it up so that you can buy another property in the future and then rent out the whole house, the first house that you bought. Nonetheless, it is the most costly monthly expense. Let me know if I'm wrong. Renting out a room at $850 per month in Denver is pretty average right now. That includes utilities. So let's say if you have a 6-bedroom house and my math, let's see, 6 bedrooms at $850 a month, you're looking at $5,100 per month for the whole house, for a 6-bedroom house. If you were to get $850 per month per bedroom, it's crazy, right? With mortgages, they are around that much, and you can pretty much break even in this high interest rate environment that we're in right now, with it being June, pretty much July of 2024, right? If interest rates go down, and I'll be going over all this stuff in the future, if interest rates go down, you can refinance, and then now you have less of a mortgage payment in the future. So that's really key. Yeah, $100. Better returns than skipping coffee, right? There's a lot of people out there, or financial advisors out there, who have the best intention, right? I think they're just out of touch. For example, a lot of them say, hey, don't buy the avocado toast or don't buy your Starbucks every single day, right? Let's put that into perspective. A $5 coffee every single day, let's say 30 days out of the month, that's $150, right? $150 is what you would be saving if you just don't buy coffee, which in my opinion is not that much. And if it gets you going and it makes you happy, I'd say stick to your coffee habit. Go to Starbucks, go to your favorite local coffee shop and keep buying that. I still think that that's still a viable way to use your money, especially for your happiness and your quality of life. $850 per month. Let's say you have a spare bedroom that you're not using, or even a spare garage that you're not using, or side of a garage. You could put that on, let's say, Zillow, Craigslist, or find someone to rent out that bedroom for $850, at least in Denver. So you could buy like 4 coffees a day at the price of renting out a bedroom. And it's so key for just building wealth and building up that opportunity for you. So moving on. Finally, chapter 1. This is going to be a long one, and I feel like I'm going to be, touching on future chapters here, but this is my journey, and this is what I've experienced so far, right? Back in 2019, that's me and Kat, my spouse, my significant other. That this is our first house hack, right? We were renting in San Diego back in 2019 at $2,000 a month. I went to an agent-hosted seminar back in what is it? Stone Brewery? Oh no, Ballast Point. For those of you in San Diego, it's great. I was just there for the beer. So he was talking about how the equity gain, the appreciation, and renting out the rooms and all this other good stuff. But what really intrigued me was that he said, you will not cash flow in the first couple years of your San Diego property. I was like, then why are we here? Like, isn't the whole game of real estate investing cash flow? It is not. And I am finally seeing what he meant by that. So I rented out the rooms within my San Diego home. Um, we rented out the master bedroom for $1,200 a month. So they got a bedroom and a bathroom. And we rented out the studio. It was a duplex. So we bought a duplex in the San Diego area. For those of you who don't know, it's like North Park, Normal Heights area. Love the area. Very walkable, great restaurants, great breweries. A lot of people want to rent there. So we saw a premium for rent in both the studio, which is, so there is a 3-bed, 2-bath, and a studio, which is just a 1 bathroom. And like there's this big room and just 1 bathroom, right? For those of you who don't know what a studio is. So with all that, we were making about $2,700 per month with the extra room and the studio as well. So we didn't want to retire at 65, which brings us back to the point where like, hey, we can see some potential equity gain in this property. We know that this is going to be our ticket to retiring early. And, you know, spoiler alert, this is turning out way better than expected, because the first couple years of holding onto this property, it was bleeding money, but we are now seeing the benefits of it. No, yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. So anywho, now we're moving on to 2024. I'm a serial house hacker. I now have 3 house hacks. I'm living in my third. Well, I get actually technically not right now. Like the third, like right now, literally right now, I am in the Flaming Gorge in Utah. It's right on the border of Utah and Wyoming, and living in a van. To give you guys an idea, this is where I'm at right now. I'm literally in a van right now. And like that's my view right there. It's kind of hard to see, but that's a lake. That's a lake right there. And you know, me and Cats and Archie, my dog, my big dog, we are just exploring America, and it's all thanks to house hacking. So I want you guys to live a life that you want to live. You don't have to um you don't have to live in a van, but you can live a life that you want, which is the main goal here. So now I'm a serial house hacker. I currently own and rent out my third house hack. We've helped dozens of clients, or I've helped dozens of clients. I have a lot of free content on YouTube, Instagram, and now School, if that's where you're coming from. Also from the YouTube space, you should definitely join my School community. I'm developing more and more people and trying to get more engaged conversations to start it all. And just talk about struggles, talk about wins, and crowdsource all the problems or experiences that you might have. Like I said, I'm in a van life, or doing the van life. This year, we're doing it 10 months out of the year. We're going to be back in Denver around November-ish and maybe end of December for weddings and things like that. But nonetheless, living the life I want, which is great. Also for that San Diego property, we are now looking to move that from a duplex into a fourplex, putting 2 more units on it, making more money, because we're scraping the 1950 build studio and turning those into 2024, maybe even 2025 brand new units where we can get more rent, which is great. I am super excited for it, and it's all thanks to house hacking. I want to make sure that you guys are taking advantage of it. So before we continue on more, check out my YouTube, check out my Instagram. That's my email address, and check out my School community. I'm here for you. I want to make sure that you are well equipped and all your questions are answered for the future. Really excited for it. So what the heck is house hacking? So a lot here. Definition: rent out the bedrooms, garage, separate unit, and the basements. It doesn't matter what you rent out. I mean, as long as you own the property, you take advantage of the equity gain, the appreciation, the tax benefits, the control, the leverage, and all that good stuff. I'll be going over that in the future chapter. But it's the fact of renting out a piece of your property for the purpose of making money. Purpose: mitigate the mortgage as much as possible, right? Like I said, the living expenses is the most costly of the monthly payments, right? So if you were to mitigate that as much as possible, let's say from 30% of your paycheck to just 10% of your paycheck, that extra 20% you can utilize however you want. Shoot, get the most expensive gym membership. Like, I don't care. Like, the fact is, you want the better quality of life. And if that quality of life means retiring early, great, because that's where I'm trying to be, right? I'm trying to retire early thanks to house hacking here. Why? We're here to ultimately we're here ultimately for flexibility and financial independence. We do not want to rely on a W 2 income, a company that can cut you loose and lay you off for no gosh darn reason, right? We want to be control and masters of our own destiny, or we want to control our own destiny. We want to be masters of our own destiny, right? So, how does that work? We have to keep investing in ourselves. We have to keep investing in the businesses that we want and invest in things that we find near and dear to our heart that we know that can make money. Last thing, how? We find an agent, we find a lender, we find a strategy, we find a home, we find a renter, and then we find a way to scale from there. So this is all part of this grand scheme, this whole course here. This is merely chapter 1 of 7. H-A-C-K-I-N-G, right? So this is just H. Like, I am here to just unload on you guys on how to do all this, from analyzing deals, finding an agent, finding a lender, strategy, home, renter, and a way to scale. I have seen this all personally, and I have seen this through a lot of my clients as well. So I want to help you through every step of the way, and you're already making that first step with watching this video. So really excited for it. So Section 3, real estate versus other asset classes. And this is a really good point to harp on here, because there's a lot of places where you can put your money. So real estate versus other assets, stocks, crypto, owning a business. And like, these are probably the most common asset classes that we're seeing in this market of July 2024, right? Stocks. Let's talk about that, because I feel like that's the most popular that we see and experience, especially when you just go on like CNN and you see the ticker symbols go across. The NASDAQ is down 5 points. Like, what does that even mean, right? Like, there's a lot of people that are just seeing that and it's sensationalized news. I don't want to get too far into it, but stocks is the most popular. So let's go into the pros, right? It's typically very passive. You buy a share and you own a piece of that company, maybe like 0.00001% of it, but it is very passive. You believe in the company, so you buy a piece of it and you let the market do its thing. If the market believes that it is a valuable company, the price will raise, and it is very passive. You don't have to do anything to make that price go up. You own a piece of the company, which is great. It feels good to like know what you're putting your money into, and you could do a lot of research on TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, Robinhood, whatever your brokerage account is coming from. Yeah, you own a piece of it. On average, it trends upwards over time. So I think ever since the Great Depression, stocks, or the stock market, has increased 7 to 10% on average, depending on who you ask and depending on inflation and all that good stuff. It generally trends upwards over time. So it's a really great way for you to ensure that your money will stay afloat, especially if you invest in index funds versus individual companies. It's a good way to bet that you're going to be making money on this, on stocks, right? So some of the cons: you have no control over this asset class, right? If the stock price goes down, if the economy goes down, if there's a government shutdown, or if there's a big catastrophe. I mean, like looking at COVID, right? I mean, it dropped pretty significantly, but it did boost right back up. I mean, thanks to the stimulus, or like printing money and all this other good stuff, which I don't really agree with, but that's a whole nother video. You have no control over this asset. And for better or for worse, it just, you don't know where this money is going to go. So I would highly suggest, if you were to invest in stocks, put it in an index fund, which is a collection of stocks for you to invest in. So anywho, one bad tweet equals game over. We see this all the time, let's say with Tesla, right? Elon Musk has a lot of power over the companies that he owns. SpaceX, X, now it used to be Twitter. Of course, Tesla, right? If he puts out, hey, Tesla's going private if it hits $420 per share, there's a lot of SEC rules that say that he can't do that, especially if it's public information. I'm not going to get too far into it, but nonetheless, if someone says something bad and the public gets a hold of it, the stock can crash like pretty significantly. And if you're trying to retire within the next month and you see that stock crash and you have a lot of your net worth in there, it is going to suck, right? So one bad tweet equals game over. You have no control over that stuff, which goes over the first point here. Another con here is that $100 a share is $100 a share. And I'll be going over this and why real estate investing is a little bit more superior to stocks in that you can leverage how much you can own with how much you put down. Let's say $100 a share equals $100 a share. In stocks, in homes, you could put down 5% on a home and you will own a home that is $500,000 or $1 million even, as long as you live in the home and there's some stipulations along with that, right? So it's a 1-to-1 ratio for stocks. For homes, is like if it's a primary residence, you can have a 1-to-20 ratio where you put down 1% or 5% of the value and you get 100% of the whole property. So it's pretty great. So now on to the next, crypto, right? Another hot topic still here in the July 2024 market. Obviously, it's not as bullish. It's a little bit more bearish, but it is picking up. So pros. Personally, it's game changing. I think that there is something out there for crypto. It's hard to say where it's going to be going. There's still a lot of uncertainty with where it is, just because it's in its beginning stages, right? A non-fiat currency is pretty amazing, and I think there's some wins with it. It's just we're not seeing it, and it's not very reliable. And I'll be going into that on the cons. Very passionate community. There's the people that invest in the crypto community, Dogecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, what is it, Solana? I mean, all these things, even with NFTs, like, and having that tied to the blockchain and the technology that has come out of crypto, is still of big benefit to society nowadays. So it's a very passionate community, especially if they want to improve on crypto over time. Various applications, like I said, NFTs, blockchain, and there's a lot of people out there that are looking to sell the real estate on the blockchain. And I haven't looked too much into it, just because, I don't want to have that FOMO, right? If I'm starting to feel that FOMO, kind of like what Alex Hormozy says, I take a step back, right? I wait for things to, like, have the dust settle, wait for, I don't know, the hype to die down, right? That's with NFTs. Blockchain, I still think that's a very powerful technology, especially with all the nodes and everything talking to each other. And there's a lot of transparency with it. I think it's great. So that's a big pro with the crypto community. Again, with crypto, there's no control over the asset. The highs are high and the lows are low, like very low. And I'm sure you saw that too. If you were to buy in like 2017, see that crash in like 2018, 2019, 2020. Now it's picking back up, but still, there's no control over that asset. And the value of, let's say, Bitcoin is determinant on what the market thinks the value is. So that's kind of the weird part about it, where it's not based on any solid, tangible, I guess, inventory, like piece of it, almost like gold, right? Gold has a certain value because it's finite, right? Bitcoin, not so much. I won't get into it. Track record of less than 25 years, right? Maybe even less than that. I'm not 100% sure, but there's not much reliability. But let's say for real estate, there's a ton of reliability. Everyone loves land. Everyone needs a place to stay. It's a necessity to life: food, water, and shelter, right? So land and real estate investing, or just or like holding real estate in general, like I own land, I am a landlord, right? It is very valuable. And that has been a thing ever since humans have been around. Like owning countries or being a ruler of a country, you own all this land. It is very valuable. So crypto, not so much. It just doesn't have that reliability. Another con is the scandals that are going on, right? Which kind of goes over the no control over the asset class. You just have no idea where people are taking this crypto craze, right? I myself put money into crypto, of course, like maybe like 5% of my net worth. It's really not that much, just to see where things go and just to be a part of that community. But I was a victim of that FTX scandal, with BlockFi having an interest-bearing account with uh, with the coins that I have or the crypto that I have. There's really no control over that stuff. It sucks, right? So, anywho, that's something that we just don't have control over. Sorry, just making sure that this is still going. Last thing, owning a business pro, emotionally rewarding. If you always wanted to start a business, this feels so good to start, right? If you are great at making muffins, you want to open a bakery, you can definitely do that. It you can bring that emotion forward and capitalize on it and make it happen, right? Obviously, if you haven't read the E Myth, which I think you should if you're an entrepreneur, the baker is not the best at owning a business. And, I don't want to get too far into it, but the baker shouldn't own a business. The baker should just keep being a baker and find someone to own the business for them. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. Ask me if you're curious about that stuff. Control what you work on. You control all this stuff, right? So you have all the power, you have all the control. You know how many customers come in, you know how much you need to sell, especially for inventory, what the seasons are going to be like. You have a lot of control over how much you're going to be making on it. The more you put in, the more you get out of it. So if you put in more work, more effort to improve on the space, to for the marketing or the product and all that good stuff, you will see almost a direct correlation with how much sales you get and how much you get from each sale. So that's very applicable to this. Also, with owning a business, you can hire people to do what you don't want to do, which is another point to the E Myth. And like I said, highly recommend you go read that book. If you don't want to be front of house operating the cash register or even baking the muffins, if you wanted to open up a bakery, you can hire someone else to do that stuff. And you can just run the books, run the numbers, and make sure that you're working on the business and not working in the business. That is the key difference here. So that's super important. So owning a business, at least at first, everything is on you. If you don't hire anyone, at least from the get-go, you are on the spot for everything. Even the people that you do hire out, it's a reflection of your business, which in turn hurts your revenue. And then it hurts your profit and it hurts your livelihood, right? It's a lot of stress, which financially intensive day one. Let's say if you were to sell a certain inventory, right? You get supplies, you get the machines to make, let's say, sticking with that bakery example, right? You get the machines, you get the flour, the eggs, even the space to rent out, right? You can't just, I mean, you could probably work out of your house, but for the most part, you need to rent out a space too, right? So that's rent, the supplies, the machines. If you get it financed, you have to pay a monthly payments. It's very financially intensive day one if you don't know how to work it properly. Variable income, the highs are high and the lows are low. It's emotionally rewarding, but it will take a lot out of you. I'm sure you know some business owners out there, maybe even personally, that it just takes a lot out of them and they need to be at the property or at the business constantly. And it's just, it can hurt your family. It can just ruin the time that you want to spend with your kids or your family or whoever it might be, your spouse. And it hurts on a more not logistic, well, I guess logistically, but a more logically based argument here, right? If you're not making money, it's a strain on your relationship and your business. So why even house hack, right? I touched on a couple of things earlier on in the different sections, but let's go over the different sections, right? So control. You control the asset. If you own the home, you can decide what to paint the walls, rehab the kitchen, the bathrooms. And that's the biggest ROI. A little bit of insight here. A lot of people spend time on the kitchens, and there's a lot of improvements that you can make on the kitchens, whether it's like better countertops, better cabinets, better appliances, like a better workflow, or like an open house concept, or open floor concept, things like that. All of that you can control in a real estate investing asset class or real estate asset class. and you decide how much money you get. Let's say, for example, if it's more important for you to get someone into the home and just getting it occupied as soon as possible, you want to lower the rent to get more applications coming in so that you can get someone in there as soon as possible, right? Then, if someone's planning on moving out, they give you a 60-day notice, they plan on moving out. You can have 60 days to plan for someone else to move in. And if you're like, hey, if I got 10 applications at $750 per month for this one room, I can now up that to $800 per month and see how many applications I get. Let's say it's 5 applications, and then maybe at $850 you get 2 applications, right? And it doesn't have to be even per room. Let's say you have a basement. You can rent out a basement for, let's say, $2,000 a month. Of course, they're taking a whole basement and you're living on the main floor, or vice versa. If you want to make more money, live in the basement and have the upstairs, the main floor, rented out for like $2,400 a month, right? It all depends on how much money you want to make. And that's the greatest part of it with real estate investing. And you can put up your funky art. So it's all about quality of life too, right? If you don't want to rent out all the bedrooms, you don't have to. Just rent out the basement and you can never have to interact with them, right? Let's say there's a separate entrance going into the basement and you live in the main floor. You don't ever have to run into them again, especially if there's a kitchen, a bathroom, and a bedroom downstairs. That's all them. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So, anywho, put up your funky art, have that quality of life that you want over time, right? So, with the leverage, that 1-to-1 ratio that you see in stocks, you could put 5% down. Imagine paying, let's say Amazon is worth $1,000 per share, right? Imagine paying $50 for a share of Amazon that is worth $1,000, or $1,000 for one share, right? That is what the leverage means. That's what leverage means, especially when you're investing in real estate. You could put down 5% or lower, depending on if you're a veteran or if you're in a rural community and want to buy a USDA, United States Department of Agriculture based loan, things like that, or even FHA, which is only 3.5% down. This is all part of the leverage, and being able to get into the real estate game as soon as possible is the most important aspect of it, because time in the market is better than timing the market. You can never time the market. It is so unpredictable. And Warren Buffett had a challenge for the best investors in the world. We're like, hey, I will challenge you guys on an investing game like stock picks and things like that. Of course, his was a little different scenario where he put his money in index funds rather than individual accounts or individual businesses. He eventually won. Nonetheless, time in the market beats timing the market. It's a little bit different than the story I was talking about, but another lesson learned, right? Anywho, $500,000 home is a $25,000 down payment. Your home is still worth $500,000, but you only have to put down $25,000 on that home. And if that still seems like a lot of money to you, don't worry. We'll be going over at a different chapter where we will figure out how you can afford it and how to make that mortgage work, especially through house hacking. More money in your pocket means more money in your furnishings, right? Instead of putting down, let's say 10%, 10% on $500,000 is 50 grand, right? 5% down is 25 grand. Let's say if you were to hold on to that $25,000, instead of putting 10%, you put down 5%, you keep that $25,000 in your pocket. You can use it for improving on the home. Let's say with rehabbing the home, rehabbing the kitchen, the bathrooms, the bedrooms, repainting the exterior, improving on the landscaping, right? And the furnishings, let's say with tables, the common areas, pots, pans, things to just get you ready for home ownership and living in the home. That's all part of why you should be leveraging, I don't want to say as much as possible, but as much as you're comfortable with. Another reason why you should be house hacking is because it's reliable. Like I mentioned earlier, people have been fighting over land for thousands of years, like even before 080. I feel like it's always been a thing. I mean, even chimps, like monkeys, fight over territory and clans, and like they have these, like land wars, right? So if you own more land, it's a symbol of status. It's kind of nice to own land and just be master of your destiny. People need a place to live. It's one of the three basic needs to live: food, water, shelter. And so it's reliable. People will always want to be in demand, or people will always want it because it will always be in demand. Statistically, it's the best way to become a millionaire. 90% of millionaires own real estate. The other 10%, I'm not sure. Maybe it's like business, like they own a business or something like that. If you ever read the Cash Flow Quadrant, definitely read that because it would make sense here for sure. Um, Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, and also Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Definitely need to read those, especially if you want to invest in real estate or own a business. And you're a freaking landlord. So like I mentioned earlier, it just feels so good knowing that you're able to put that all into one piece of land, have a reliable source of income, reliable demand and want from the market for your asset that you have. So I think that's another huge part with why you should be investing in real estate or house hacking in general, right? Retiring early, rent goes up and mortgage stays the same. We mentioned this a little bit earlier with like just why we want to reach financial independence and how to get there and all that good stuff. But rent goes up about 3% ish per year on average, right? The mortgage stays the same. Like there's very small differences with the mortgage, and it definitely does not increase at the rate of rent if you were to be a renter. So rent goes up, mortgage stays the same. I think over time too, like if you let this ride, and I might be saying this in the future, like in a future chapter here, but I know how to make you rich. The bad news is that it will take a long time, right? There's a surefire way to getting rich in real estate investing. And the point is to buy and hold the property. So rent goes up, mortgage stays the same. Tax benefits. I am seeing a bunch of tax benefits just from owning the home and working from home as well. And especially with me being a realtor, I have that real estate professional status where I am taking advantage of everything with tax benefits. Again, I'm not a CPA, but I am seeing that with my own experience. All right, sorry. Kat just got back from a walk with Archie, so that's the van life. It's funny, like earlier, we were tossing a stick into the lake and it just gave me so much joy. Like, okay, nonetheless, like house hacking can get you there, and especially with real estate investing. So excited to get you guys on that train. You can utilize the appreciation to wealth gain. So with the appreciation that you're getting over time with owning a property, that equity you can refinance out of, cash out, and utilize for future investments, future properties, maybe even start your own business, like a separate business outside of real estate, thanks to the equity gain that you get from real estate investing, and also the money that you get from renters if you were to house hack as well. So pros and cons, like let's just go over the pros and cons here. Everything that I've mentioned so far have been like just overall general real estate investing and house hacking concepts, but we're going to get a little bit more into the nitty gritty here, right? So this is the other half of my duplex. The one that you saw with Kat and myself, that was the single family home, the 3-bed, 2-bath. This is the studio right here. It's right on top of the garage, 2-car garage, but nonetheless, I'll put my face over here so you can see the text as well. Buy a house for 5% down or less. Great. Because you live in the property. You can't do this if you're investing. Like if you're an investor, you have to put down maybe 10%, but most likely 20%. 10% happens if it's a second home, and there's a lot of stipulations with it. I'm not a lender. Make sure you talk to a lender, and there's a lender chapter that we'll be going over as well. So anyways, you now own real estate. You are lowering your largest expense. Like I said, when your housing expense is over 30% or around 30% of your income, if you were to mitigate that to like 10%, you now have 20% saved up in your own pockets, which is great. Easiest way to own several homes. And I am living proof of that. I'm on my third house hack. My San Diego home, this one that you're seeing, the studio, that's rented out for another year. And then the single family home and duplex, that is rented out all the way until 2025. And then The second house hack over in Denver, that is now operating as an Airbnb. And the third house hack is, I'm splitting the mortgage in half in a pretty good neighborhood. And I'm really excited to see where that goes. So it's easy. It's the easiest way to own several homes. And for each of these properties, I've put down 5%, 5% period. Tax benefits, again, I'm not a CPA, but if you're working from home and you're a real estate professional, if you're managing it yourself, you're able to take advantage of so much tax benefits. You're locked into a fixed monthly payment. It's another great aspect to it. Cons of house hacking. So that is the front yard of a slightly neglected house that we were living in. There was a lot of yard work, and I'll be going over this in a future video of like owning your time and hiring contractors. But this is a con, right? It's a large initial expense. Not going to lie. Like at a $500,000 home, 5% down, that's $25,000 that you have to use for just for the down payment, right? Lenders want to see skin in the game, and that is that 5%. They're not going to fund 100% of the property, and I'll be going over all those numbers in a future chapter. But not only the down payment, but you also have to pay for the closing costs and having some money in reserves if something goes wrong. Let's say if the roof leaks, if the electrical is not up to date, and you got to improve on the outlets or add on more panels or something like that. It's a large initial expense, and you need to have reserves for it. You're locked into a mortgage. So let's see. I mean, I guess it is a bad thing where you're locked into it, where like it's for 30 years where you have to pay that down until you sell it, right? It is a constant debt that is in your name or whoever's name it is for the life of the loan. And I guess for a 30-year fixed loan, and I'll go over what that means in a future chapter, but you're locked into that for 30 years. So that is a consideration. And you now have debt. Let's say if you were to pull out another credit card, if you were to pull out a car payment and things like that, that is all part of the process, and they will see that you have a mortgage, which you might not be able to qualify for more if you have debt, right? Obviously, talk with your lender about this stuff because that's all super important, but I don't know what your financial situation is, and I'm not sure what you're comfortable with. What's your risk tolerance? This is all part of that conversation that you should be having with your lender. Also, you will need to be a landlord. Like with real estate investing, it's kind of daunting here, knowing that you're giving someone a place to stay, a place to rent, and you have to know your landlord laws. Of course, you don't have to be that person. You can hire out a property manager for that stuff. So that is a way out, but it does cost money to hire a property manager, though. So now we go into renting versus owning. With renting, it's a short-term gain, like it's a short-term win, but with owning, it's a long-term game and gain. So pros of renting, right? Renting has a fixed cost for the length of the lease, and you know that your monthly payment is not going to increase for the length of that lease, right? So that is a pretty big pro. Utilities, you have to pay for most likely, right? Of course, you have to talk with your landlord on what is included, what's not included, and things like that. But not like you just have to have like something set aside for the utilities, right? You don't have to worry about fixing broken appliances, which a lot of people find that very attractive with renting versus homeowning. Like if something goes wrong, if there's a plumbing issue, you call up the property manager and be like, hey, this is wrong. We need to fix it, or you need to fix it. You're not involved in it at all. The property manager and the owner is involved with that stuff. You just let them know that there's a problem, right? So you can leave the place when the lease is up. You do not have to stay longer. And I think that's another benefit for people that want to have that like flexibility in living situation, right? So you can stay there for the length of the lease. Of course, you can even leave earlier at a certain cost for most people. But if you want to forego the security deposit, maybe a portion of it, maybe there's a penalty behind it, but make sure you read the lease agreement. But you don't have to stay there for another lease or another like term, like 12 months or 6 months or whatever that might be. You could just leave once the lease is up. So that's great. So now the cons of renting. I'm going to be going over this chart real quick first so that I can move my head back over. But decades of rent in Colorado. Back in 1940, the rent was 22 bucks. So rent adjusted to $2022 with inflation all, calculated in, it was about $338. So with the rent going up, $39 is 478 in the 50s, looking at the 70s, blah, blah, blah. Now in 2022, you're looking at, I'm not sure what FMR means, but look at 2021. Median gross rent is about $1,500 and rent adjusted to $2022 with all the printing and all that good stuff, it's about $1,558. So rent goes up pretty significantly over the course of what, 80-ish years. That is what, 5x increase, give or take, just under 5x. That is all, of consideration, right? So if you were to hold on to that property, even just for 30 years, right? Let's say for 30 years, just moving my face over one more time, 30 years from 1940 to 1970, 338 to 863, that's almost 3 times. I'd say that's what, 2.5 times the rent like increase over time. So pretty significant. So now, cons of renting. Rent tends to go up over time, as you see by the chart. Landlord can terminate the lease with prior notice. Of course, you got to look at your state's tenant laws, right? I think if you were to sell the property, you just got to let the tenant know. With California, you have to keep them in there for the length of the lease. That's all part of the process, right? So you just gotta be knowledgeable of that stuff. At the mercy of the property manager when the work gets done. Sure, you can call them and say like, hey, the fridge isn't working, but who knows when they're going to be coming in, right? They should be coming in within a certain time period, but like you have no control over that. They could say like, hey, you called on Thursday, I won't be able to get someone in there till Monday. So what the heck do you do with a broken fridge? Like, do you eat out every single day until then? Like, all your perishables are not going to be alive. They're going to be perished by the time Monday rolls around and you get that, you get that fridge fixed or replaced. Also, you're paying someone else's mortgage. That's a big con to renting. So you're paying someone else's mortgage. It's pretty significant. It feels bad, at least in my opinion. That's kind of why I wanted to own a property. It just sucks knowing that their mortgage is being paid by you, even though you own nothing of that house, right? So now we go into the pros of owning. I mean, I am pretty biased, but now looking at median home prices from 1996 to 2024, in 2007, you're looking at a price of 257,000. This is for America. Like this is the median home price for all of America. The shaded areas are the recessions. 2001, you're looking at the dot-com bubble, I think, Y2K situation. Now you're looking here at the financial crisis for housing prices, and then you're looking at COVID. That was a sliver, right? And for some reason, housing prices went up. Who would have thought that housing prices would have skyrocketed after COVID, right? I didn't predict that. I thought I was super worried as a landlord. But anywho, over the course of 17 years, the median home price has increased from $257,000 to $420,000. Crazy, right? Almost 2x. Almost 2x. Maybe it's like 1.5, 1.7-ish increase from 2007. So anywho, pros of owning. It's yours. Rehab it, improve it, deck it out. It's your quality of life too. Like if you're you're living in the property, that is your property. So do whatever you want with it. Like that's a pro to it. And there's a lot of control and that aspect to it can bring people a lot of joy and a lot of security, especially if you're trying to raise a family. You're locked in a monthly cost with very little change. Like I said, with taxes and insurance only being the increase over time, that is maybe tens of dollars difference per month, if even that. Usually, like annually, it just gets repeated. So, anywho, you're locked in a monthly cost for the next 30 years. Inflation works with you, not against you. So, with inflation, that includes housing prices. A lot of the prices go up. Like this is an asset class. if you were to own this property and inflation with more money being printed, the value of a dollar goes down, which means you can, or like the price of the home goes up, right? Because the value of the dollar goes down, blah, blah, blah. It just allows for the same amount of money, that same value of the dollar goes down, right? Anywho, so with inflation, it works with you, not against you. And real estate is a big, um, like principle or big key to this. Also, tax benefits. I'm not a CPA. Again, I just want to completely remind you that I am not a CPA. So, anywho, next, cons of owning. Here, we're just going to look over the picture real quick here, right? At a $500,000 home price, 5% down, 30-year fixed loan at a 7% interest rate, state of Colorado, property taxes, that's about average right now. Home insurance at about 2,200, PMI, I'll go over all that stuff and what that means. You're looking at a monthly payment of 3,760, which let's say for an average home that is, let's say 2-bed, 2-bath or 3-bed, 2-bath, in Denver, that you if you were to rent that same property, you would probably rent it for like 2,400, maybe $2,500. So a lot of people would argue that, man, I'm paying $1,200 more per month just to own this home versus renting it. So anyway, just want to be real with you and show you like what the cons are. So this is where house hacking comes in. Oh my gosh, that should have been last. So anywho, we're just going to ignore this red lettering here. Lots of money up front, right? Like I said, the down payment is of consideration here. The closing costs and having money in reserves, like you want to be prepared for anything. It's a lot of money up front. Less money that you put down, right? Higher monthly payments. So if you put in less money, let's say you put down 5%, you get higher monthly payments because the lender sees that as a higher risk, right? So with a higher risk, they just you got to pay more for that, right? You're just a high risk borrower. If you put more money down, let's say 20% or even 50%, it's lower monthly payments because the loan amount is much smaller. If you put down 50%, the loan is 50%. If you put down 5%, the loan is 95%. So you have to pay that back somehow. Also, you're responsible for the maintenance of the home, the appliances, the roof, the landscaping, the painting, the kitchen. If it's outdated, you got to update it, especially if you're trying to sell it or getting it appraised. All of that is at a cost to you because you are the landlord. So this is all of strong consideration, right? You just got to be fully knowledgeable of it and just knowledge is power, maybe, but the implementation is power. Taxes and insurance and upkeep all add up. It's not just the loan that you're paying for, it's the taxes and insurance and all that good stuff, right? So, anywho, case studies, last section here, the house hacking case studies. I want to go over a couple of instances and the people that I have worked with and helped out over time to house hack, to rent out their place, and to make things a lot more attractive, especially on a financial perspective here, right? Me personally, I reinvested back into the home. So looking at the first panel, this is when we first bought it. This is the yard after not so much upkeep. Like me personally, I was super busy. Kat was super busy with working and all that good stuff. Like we did not want to do the landscaping. And then looking at this last panel here, we put in a lot of money to make it more xeriscaped and make things a lot more affordable with weekly or monthly maintenance and also water costs, and just looks that much nicer instead of an iron was ironclad gates or whatever it might be. Now we have that like Pueblo casita kind of feel, and it really matches the neighborhood and the neighbors love it. So it also improves the value of the home as well. Also, the foundation, we had to get foundation fixed in the home with posts and piers. I learned a lot about that stuff. But now we don't have to worry about it sinking. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff for the next 30 plus years, which is the lifetime of the loan. The studio and the courtyard, we made all of that look really nice and made it very attractive. So all of this will come back in equity and appreciation over time. People love it. Appreciation, not just with the home market value itself, but appreciation for the neighbors. The neighbors appreciate you putting back into the community, and in turn, it will make them want to improve on their home as well. 2019 numbers. I bought the home back in 2019 for 815,000. The mortgage was $5,400 per month. Rent coming in was about $2,700 per month, and I was paying $2,700 to live there in that home, that San Diego home, right? That same home is now worth 1.3 million, cash flowing about $700 a month instead of paying $2,700. So yeah, $2,700 per month. I am now getting $700 per month after mortgage, after the landscaping, after everything's said and done. We're finally making money on this place. We're now thinking about making the place a quadplex. We're scraping the ADUs, scraping the garage, and putting 3 units on top of each other and making more money and providing more affordable housing for the people of San Diego. After renovation, we're anticipating about $10,000 plus per month in revenue, of course. So we have yet to see what that might look like in the future, but that's what we're seeing, especially if the single family home is now renting at $3,800. And if we were to put 3 more ADUs that are 1 bed, 1 baths, each of those could rent out at about $2,200. So $2,200, $2,200, $2,200, that's $6,600 plus $3,800 for the single family home. That's over $10,000 a month in revenue in rental income. So really excited for that. So this is my first Airbnb house hack. We did all the furnishing. We're currently managing it right now. Loving it. We house hacked this one, right? Me and Kat lived in the basement and rented out the main floor as an Airbnb. So all these top pictures and the one on the left down here is all the main floor, and then down here is the basement. You wouldn't even guess that this is the basement, right? I mean, me coming from San Diego, I had no idea what to expect from basements, but this is awesome, right? Especially once it's all decked out. And then this is the sunroom leading out to the backyard. So 2021 numbers, I'll move this pretty quickly. Live for free 5 out of the 12 months. Loved it. I mean, especially with Airbnb. Bought furniture off of Facebook Marketplace and IKEA. Try to make things as affordable as possible. And those 2 places are definitely key in making things a little bit more affordable. Raised capital. Careful with this strategy. With partnerships, equities, monthly distributions, all of that are factors with making sure the numbers work for you and with the partners, and also with operating agreements and things like that. We could talk about that at a future time, and I believe I have a section on this, but nonetheless, be very careful with that strategy because you want to build trust and you want to make sure the numbers still work for you as well. Future plans: buy and hold. Have an MTR strategy implemented in the slow months, and have the MTR strategy implemented in slow months. Future plans, yeah, it's just more of a buy and hold, and maybe even doing a 1031 exchange into something bigger. So that's the plan right now. And these are all the people that I've helped. Like with Chris here, he currently owns a place in Denver. He's renting out all his rooms. Elisa is renting out all her rooms as well. She just moved out to Carlsbad, which is like Southern California. Yeah, she's renting out all the rooms and she's cash flowing on the place. Matt here also renting out the rooms. He's living in the basement, renting out a room, and also renting out the main floor. AJ, same idea. Anthony, my very first client, he's living in the basement, renting out the main floor. Pablo and Katie, they're over in San Diego, building out an ADU in San Diego, like converting their garage into an ADU, and also renting out their rooms at the same time. Massive. I love the strategy. Izzy and Matt, first time homeowners, help them with the whole home buying process. Same with Ben. He's now looking to buy his second property. I love it. Minju and Erland, they just bought their second property with me. It is just awesome to see the growth of these people, and I'm so glad I'm able to help them out just starting out. And I believe I can help you, even if you're not in Denver, wherever you are in the nation. I can help you out as far as what the whole process is like, any questions you have, crowdsourcing, I'm here for you, and I want to make sure that you're able to go in with confidence. So, anywho, keep in touch. Like, this is the very last part. Thank you for watching all the way through. YouTube.com/invest in Denver. That's my channel. It's mainly Denver related, but there are some house hacking nuggets in there, including flips and real time case studies that I go over, vlog tours, investment property tours that people introduce me to. So definitely go subscribe and like all my videos on that. It is no longer Ian.realestateagent. It is Ian.househacker. So keep in mind that's me on Instagram, IanCHimeno@gmail.com, and school. I want to build out that community and have it a thriving, engaging, positive community for the people that are looking to house hack and invest in real estate. So thanks so much, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll put up this on YouTube if you haven't seen it already. And just want to get the word out there that this is possible and you can do it. I'll be going over all the numbers, how to analyze deals, lenders, contractors, all that good stuff in future chapters. So excited to provide this much value for you guys. I'll see you guys next time.